Yet another side has pulled out of the FIFA ASEAN Cup due to take place this September. We'd already seen China pull out, replaced by Pakistan, and now another. India have pulled out of the FIFA ASEAN Cup, and they've been replaced by Bangladesh. Ryan, why don't you talk me through what has unfolded?
Thank you, mate. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to chatting this one through actually, because there's two different threads to this. There's everything that India have done and our thoughts and opinions and mutterings on that, and then it's the Bangladesh story and their involvement in the competition. So as you said, mate, let's start with what I guess a as best a chronological order as I can
Mm-hmm,
put it in.
mm-hmm.
And mate, please do interrupt if I get any of this wrong, which I undoubtedly will do. So India had accepted an invitation to play in the inaugural FIFA ASEAN Cup, and they had been drawn into Division 1 Group A alongside Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. As we've already spoken about on the channel, and I think you just mentioned there, that competition is being staged during that extended September, October, the Septober window from the 21st of September to the 6th of October international window. And it was expected that India, as we've said, would take part and would form part of that Group A in Division 1. However, they then announced a home friendly against Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Vinicius Junior and his boys, they're welcoming King Carlo um, to the Salt Lake Stadium in Calcutta. And then the AIFF then subsequently confirmed that the clash in schedules made participating in both impossible. So India decided to withdraw from the FIFA ASEAN Cup and prioritize this friendly with Brazil. There was there was some murmurings that they actually explored sending a second team. So before withdrawing entirely, there was reports that they potentially could look to send a reserve or a development team to the FIFA ASEAN Cup, whilst retaining the core senior side for the exhibition match against Brazil. But that went nowhere, and in the end, they pulled out completely. Now, should we talk about this Brazil match? Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with fundamentally. Let's start with the pros, right? Spoiler alert: I'm overall con, but we'll start with the pros, right? And the pro here is the fact that this is a massive game. Certainly commercially, this is a massive game for an international friendly, right? And it would be remiss of me as somebody who is from England, so gets to see England play good large teams very regularly, right? That doesn't happen, right, all around the world, and it doesn't particularly happen for India. And this is a groundbreaking friendly, and I think
Mm.
if there wasn't the FIFA ASEAN Cup and India weren't playing any tournament in September, and this opportunity came up, we would be lauding this as an incredible achievement between the federations and getting this game together. Commercially, it will be huge. It will be great for the fans to experience. Brazil, the lowest ranked side that they have ever played since FIFA World Rankings came into place, will be India in this international window. And if I was being really positive about it, I would say all the spectators and fans, perhaps the children watching this game, perhaps it may inspire. And I think that maybe the AIFF have sort of said this part of this plan is to inspire the next generation of football in the country by welcoming Brazil for this
Mm.
game.
Yeah,
That is my very positive spin on the situation.
I think I think it's worth noting that because that is from what I've seen that it is a lot of those narratives are part of like the underpinning reason that this game's going ahead. It is it's enormous for Indian football. They're welcoming 5-time world champions. They also the Brazil national team or Brazil are incredibly they're overwhelmingly popular
Mm-hmm.
in India, and they've got a huge following. So you will have, and this is an incredible promotional event. Yes, commercially, we'll talk about that shortly, and there is a huge attraction to that. but the exposure, and you mentioned the inspiring elements to that, to watch the Vinicius Juniors, the Lucas Paquetas of this world strut about, um, playing football, an iconic event for Indian football, and they're probably viewing it as this sort of unprecedented sporting opportunity. But there have been some. We spoke about the commercial bit. There are, mate. There are strong reasons to believe that the commercial value to this is
Outweighing the footballing value?
yes, mate. I think so. So they're rumored to be paying for Brazil to appear in India. There are rumours that it is anywhere between, I'm going to do it in pounds sterling, £3.5 to £5 million for Brazil to play in this game. And there have been former Indian national team players that have actually criticised the decision to spend that sort of money when the domestic clubs in India are experiencing some financial troubles.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you talk about it from the commercial value of the event, so India, that they're paying a lot to host Brazil, I'm sure, and I have no idea on what the finances look like from what they'll receive from fans attending the game or
Mm-hmm.
merchandise being sold as part of this big exhibition. I wouldn't know, but there will be, I'm sure, an expectation that they will make sufficient funds to deem it worthwhile to spend that money on attracting Brazil. The commercial versus the footballing decision is, so they have withdrawn from the FIFA ASEAN Cup, where they will, and I think a strong argument is they could really do with the game time playing against similar level Asian nations, especially following some of their recent results,
Mm-hmm.
mate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, they've been replaced by Bangladesh. The irony being that Bangladesh is the side who beat them in the final game of AFC Asian Cup qualifiers in round 3 of that. India finishing bottom of that group.
And that was, let me just jump in. That was, mate. That was that they finished below Singapore, Hong Kong, and Bangladesh.
Yeah, yeah. Three teams
And
taking part in this tournament. Hong
yeah,
Kong actually in the challenge division. I think that it's called.
and this is the point that you could argue that India need competitive Asian football far more than they
Need one friendly.
need Brazil. Yeah, it's more, rather than we've never experienced Vinicius Junior running at the fullbacks or running at us. It's actually more, actually they don't consistently beat the teams around them at their own level, and look, their ASEAN group, as ASEAN Cup group, would have contained Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and these are exactly the teams that India need to benchmark themselves against. Before we jumped on, actually, we were looking at their FIFA ranking, because there was that. I remember you and I recorded videos a few years ago around how they played Lebanon about 3 times within the space of 4 months, because they were trying to break the top 100 FIFA world rankings, because that then gave them a better pot for World Cup qualification, I think.
Yes, it
And you
was.
look
Yeah.
at that now, and they're now about, I think they're around 140, and they've just been, the trajectory of the national side is on the downward trend. And there is, I think, mate, there's a strong argument to say they need the competitive football in a FIFA licensed tournament. By the way, this is a strong, strong looking tournament now. One that I'm really excited for, by the way, for us on the channel. And to opt for the friendly, but they're dropping competitive games for an exhibition, and the FIFA ASEAN Cup, it's been explicitly created as this FIFA backed competition designed to strengthen Asian national team football. And FIFA said from the outset that its purpose was to provide meaningful matches and help develop these national teams. So then they signed up. all the groups made, the draw was done, and then the glamour friendly appeared, and they walked away from it.
Hmm.
I don't know, mate. I don't know if I'm being too harsh. It doesn't necessarily scream a coherent long-term national team planning in my eyes, man. What do you think?
Well, another backdrop to this as well, yet to be confirmed. They have They have the SAF Championships, or they're due to have the SAF Championships in November. The South Asian Football Federation, where actually, funnily enough, a number of the teams that have been brought in to the FIFA ASEAN Cup, Bangladesh and Pakistan, would play in that tournament as well. It's hosted in Dhaka, and we'll be covering it here on DNQ Football in November time. But they've also just set up international friendlies against New Zealand in New Zealand for that time. And so now it's called into question whether or not they're going to be able to play at the SAF Champs. And so then we'll have back to back. All right, there's an argument the SAF Champs might not be as prestigious as this new inaugural FIFA tournament and some of the sides, etc., etc. But they still have back to back opportunities for competitive matches that they would have pulled out of in favour of friendlies. And I think, you touched on it. They've dropped from 99th in July of 2023 to 138th. Is where they currently are. That's 39 spots in just over 3 years, right? That's about it's exactly 13 spots a year they're dropping at the moment. That's the trajectory that they're on at the moment. And I just think that the one single moment of glamour and what that will do for Indian football, I think, is probably being overstated versus actually trying to build a national strategy. You look at some of the other sides. Sri Lanka have looked at the SAF Champs and said, that's our mission, we want to win the SAF Champs. And you see a lot of football in Southeast Asia and South Asia, and they're trying, a lot of these nations, to develop a bit of a football pathway and set their sights on some targets. And I think with India, there's an argument that actually, if you look at what's happened across the last few years and what may be happening across the next few months, perhaps in India the opposite is actually happening, and we do have a little bit of a lack of coherent structure. So overall, I think from an Indian perspective, I don't think that it's the best decision that they could have made. I think that taking part seriously in this tournament and trying to find an opportunity for this groundbreaking friendly to take place in another time, March of next year, for example, in that international window, I think that would have been the better option for them.
I think just the final point, because I do want to get onto Bangladesh. My final 2 points. The first one is, have they had assurances? And they must have done, to be honest, right? But there is a little bit of sporting danger here, in the sense that you don't know how competitive or uncompetitive this friendly with Brazil is actually going to be.
Yeah.
So how strong is the Brazil team if they bring their superstars? And I'm sure there's probably something, if Brazil are receiving such a large sum to attend the game, I'm sure there's stipulations around the better players, the best players need to be in the squad. So do you have the real sporting imbalance of them just being far better than India, and there is no competitive action to the game at all? Or do they bring a squad that's got some of the big players? I keep going back to Vinicius Junior because he is just a Galactico, isn't he? But then does he sit on the bench, and is it a little bit of a Brazil B team that are still it's such a it's just an interesting decision, man. And I'm interested for anyone, if anyone watching is an Indian football fan, please put your opinions and comments down below. I'm really intrigued. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Are you disappointed that you're missing out on the FIFA ASEAN Cup, or don't you care because King Carlo Ancelotti is bringing his boys to town? Do let us know. But mate, let's flip now, because we've spoken about India quite a bit. Let's talk about Bangladesh, because they've picked up the phone. They've picked up the blower. They've got the call. I don't know who they got the call from. They got the call from Infantino.
Well, they got the call from themselves. It seems like if they're picking up the blower and are taking the call.
No, but they're picking up the blower to take the call.
Sure.
But who's calling them?
Infantino.
Anyway, so Infantino, with his white shoes on, he's just had a scrap with Seferin in the Misfits boxing that we spoke about on the last pod. Anyway, Infantino's given them the bell, and they have got the call up, mate. So talk to me. Where do you want to start with this? Because it's great. It's great news. I think. I think. Whereas it's a
Well,
negative for India, I think
yes.
it's a great bit for Bangladesh now, mate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They've accepted the invitation to replace them, so they therefore take India's place in Group A of Division One, alongside Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. And it's perfect. I think it's perfect for where their national team currently is.
It's perfect for where they are. It's perfect for the journey. Pakistan and Bangladesh. I think it would have been. I think it would have been really, really great if they'd have just rejigged things and had them in that challenge division against sides still from the ASEAN region, because I think they would have maybe been had a real chance to win that, both of them retrospectively, if they'd have been in separate groups against sides like Myanmar, for example, and Laos. Like that would have just certainly been really interesting to see how that would have played out. I mean, no disrespect when I say they probably won't do that great in some of these, but they should be quite competitive matches. Their record against some of those sides, they've played Indonesia 7 times, they've won once. They've played Malaysia 10 times, they've won once. And they've played
Okay.
Singapore 6 times and won once. So they don't have a particularly positive record against the sides that they're up against. But if you just look at what will be 6 months of football in Bangladesh, they get their first visit to European soil in a in a friendly match, in an international friendly match against San Marino. They come away with that historic win. Then they find out it's confirmed they're hosting the SAF champs in November, a chance for them to win it again. Then they get the call up to the FIFA ASEAN, the inaugural FIFA ASEAN Cup. And they're placed in this group against solid sides, right, that will be competing well. We're seeing all of those sides that we've spoken about in action currently in the ASEAN Hyundai Cup,
Yep.
which is that regional tournament. And there'll be really competitive games. There'll be really good games. It's taking place in the international window, so you'll see the full strength squads. We'll get to see Chowdhury donning that central defensive midfield role again. I think it's absolutely fantastic for Bangladesh, and there is nothing better than some hard-fought, let's say defeats, some hard-fought close-run games, even some defeats. Nothing will set them up better to try and win the SAF champs than these hard-fought games in September, in my opinion.
No, I agree, mate. They're against really strong Asian opposition, which is great. But they're not. I think they're not. What I think is good here really is that I don't think with Bangladesh have been improving, mate, across the last 12 to 18 months.
Big time.
Big catalyst has been Chowdhury, who's improved squad quality. But then, from what I'm seeing with Bangladesh, there's been a real uplift in supporter interest with after his arrival, and then with the upturn in performances and results, there is now there is more belief, there's more interest, there's more excitement around the national team, and I think and Bangladesh ability to recruit other international and international players as well, which I'll come on to in just a sec. But they're in a good moment, and remember they're coming off some good results and some good performances. You mentioned the win on European soil, but even their Asian Cup qualification, their results weren't bad, mate. They beat India 1-0. They drew away to India 0-0. They only narrowly lost 2-1 to Singapore. And actually they've shown real signs of improvement. So they're not going to.
They're not just making up the numbers in this tournament.
Exactly, and they do. They've got Chowdhury, they've got Shamit Shome, they've got Islam, Zayan Ahmed, and a lot of these are
the barman.
Overseas.
He's my favourite. The barman who scored against San Marino.
Yes, yeah. But they're not just relying on entirely locally based players now.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And that's been part of their resurgence, and then I guess sort of supportive resurgence behind the team as well. So, do you think Bangladesh could cause an upset, or should we hold all of this for our FIFA ASEAN Cup, our deep and detailed preview?
Of course, we will have the deep and detailed preview, as all of our previews are equally detailed and equally deep. And that preview will be coming early next month for the FIFA ASEAN Cup. But if you are from Bangladesh, why don't you answer that question that Ryan has just posed to me? How do you think that Bangladesh will get on? And also, what does success look like, right? I'm really, really keen to hear, if you're from Bangladesh, what do you think a successful FIFA ASEAN Cup tournament looks like? Have you already achieved success by playing? Would a few hard-fought defeats be good enough, or do you think you need a couple of draws in there? Can you even sneak a win as well? I'm not saying that it's off the cards given the recent results, so get that down in the comments. If you've made it this far in the video, do not forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We will be here for the journey of the FIFA ASEAN Cup, and we'll also be here for India's journey against Brazil. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.